Hi guys, this is the Saudi Football Fanatics channel, and welcome to our usual team. Hi guys, everyone is here, if I'm not mistaken.
You are not. Hi everyone.
Hello.
Well, we have a lot of things to talk about, and perhaps we should do it. And let's get right into the middle of the things, because a lot of things are going on. We already forecasted that this is going to be a very busy period for Saudi football fanatics, and it is really a busy period for us too. And well, I think let's talk about the Super Cup, shouldn't we?
Yeah, and maybe we should start with the story of the Super Cup. Who are the participants? What is the goal here? What are the main rules? And so on, because I think it's quite a new thing, because it's only the 10th occasion in this new era. Now it is called the Diriyah Saudi Super Cup because of the main sponsor of this Super Cup. And also, originally, there were two teams, the champion and the cup winner, which is quite the usual method, I think, in other countries. But now, from 2022, I think, 4 teams are in the cup, because the runner-ups joined from the league and from the cup as well. I think these are the most important points. Regarding the timing, it's quite interesting because it should have been organized in February, if I recall it correctly. But because of the Champions League rescheduling, it was rescheduled as well to this time of the year, so to the beginning of April. I don't know whether you want to know any fun facts about it. Maybe
maybe in the end again, but it's quite strange that most European championships start with the Super Cup, or well, it's usually at the start of the season or close to it, but now it's in the middle of the season. We are in the April and the Super Cup is taking place. Probably the teams are not so happy about it.
Yeah, but to be honest, I don't agree with you on this, but maybe I'm not correct. But as I recall, the Spanish or the Italian Super Cup is also
both, maybe both, right?
Both of them are held in the middle of the year, but not in April. Maybe at the beginning of February, and also both of them were held in Saudi Arabia. And the other interesting thing that, as I mentioned, originally there were 2 teams in the Super Cup, just like in other countries, but it's like a new trend, not only in the kingdom, but in Europe as well, that there are 4 teams in these Super Cup tournaments, and it's most likely not just one match between the cup winner and the league winner, but just like a mini tournament with the best teams of the given country. And I think the kingdom is just trying to follow this trend.
I think it's part of a trend, what is currently under a big debate amongst football associations and football players, that football associations try to increase the number of football games, to simply say collect more money from television rights, etc. And therefore the Super Cup is not only a single final match for a cup between the last year's best teams, let's call them that way, but yes, just as you said, basically you're organizing a mini tournament between top teams and top performers of the last year, which obviously is again under debate whether this is useful, whether the prize itself worth that much, or can it be even understood as a similar cup compared to domestic cups and league games, or whether this is truly necessary. But one thing cannot be, I think, cannot be denied, and it's that at least these games played between top class clubs, and also that they generally played at high quality, maybe because of the lack of pressure sometimes, but in many cases it is involved with many goals, for example, or with drama, and yes, the Saudi Arabia tries to also introduce this series and try to also implement it already. So introduce this series. Yeah, and at the end of my monologue, just one small correction, Mark, that both the Spanish and Italians were held in January, and yes, in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and sorry, Gyula.
Just to get one more comment to that is that probably it's also a good advertisement for the Saudi league about its strengths, and for really advertising purposes they try to show the top teams more and more times.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be better that organize it in for example in European countries to just to acquire market segments from Europe, just as European teams do it in Saudi Arabia? So
I think they tried it in the past, about 5 or 6 years ago. There were 3 occasions in London, in smaller stadiums, so not in the Wembley or not in the Emirates. I think one was at Craven Cottage and 2 others at Loftus Road, but I'm not sure about that. So there were quite few people next to the ground. And my other belief is that that is not the market of the Saudi football. I think that's what we spoke about at our earlier episodes when we spoke about the transfers, spoke about the basics of Saudi and Asian football, that maybe the European countries and Europe itself, it's not the market for the Saudi and Asian football. And that is why I think is the reason that they hold this Super Cup this year at the Emirates. Maybe to promote the Saudi League in the countries nearby to Saudi Arabia or in other Asian countries.
Yeah, but Emirates is, basically the same border with Saudi Arabia. In that case, it would have been better to bring it in Japan or China. And I understand that you say that it's not their market, and yeah, that they tried it 5-6 years ago. But honestly, the Saudi Arabian football exodus and boom happened just 1 and 2 years ago. So
exactly.
it would make more sense to just hold it now, because it would deliver a great prestige if now the Saudi Arabian clubs could fill, for example, the Wembley Stadium, and with the likes of the players who are playing currently Al-Nassr, Al-Hilal or Al-Ittihad. I think it's not something which seems to be impossible. For me, I would go out, that's for sure.
I fully agree with this one. And just to point it out, because we talked about it, but to ensure that the message goes through, the current cup is played in the Emirates. So about China and Japan, probably the reason why they don't play there is that it would be a lot of traveling, unlike Europe. Yes, it would be some traveling time to get to London, but China and Japan would be a different story. But fully agree with you anyway on this one. And yes, at least this is not such a big fatigue factor for the teams to travel to the neighboring country. A good point here. And one more thing what I wanted to highlight, as you talked about, is that generally we see that, like in England, the League Cup, or in many events, the Super Cups are not taken as seriously by teams. Probably the Super Cups are a little bit different than the British League Cup, which is a joke in these terms. Sorry, but based on the starting lineups and the teams we have seen in the current Super Cup matches, which we should talk about soon, it seems that these teams are taking these matches quite seriously.
Just one comment. I don't agree with you regarding the English League Cup, because if you check the previous winners, I don't know, for example, for the last 10 years, only top teams won this League Cup, and not middle teams or teams from the championship.
Yeah, but they didn't play with their strongest lineup until the semifinals or so.
Okay,
so.
but they do this also at the FA Cup. So
yeah, but also check the final 4 of the League Cup and final 8, for example, and check the same for the FA Cup. So it's always there are second or third league teams who are going far away in the League Cup, and that's not a coincidence, I believe.
Okay.
Well, before the discussion is killed, I think we should move back from England to the Kingdom, and let's talk about the 2 matches we had, the semifinals. Sorry, one more interesting thing here is that usually the reason for the Super Cup was to have the cup winner and the league winner to play with each other, but as we have 4 teams, it is quite possible that the cup winner and the league winner will not play in the end. If they lose their first match, but it should have been rather a fun fact, and I probably should have just stayed silent and really moved to the matches because we had 2 very interesting matches, and we should talk about that. Roshan.
Saudi League.
Al-Ittihad and Al-Wehda played against each other, and we had a big classic with Al-Hilal playing Al-Nassr. Which one we should start with? What do you think?
Go with the order of timing, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Ittihad.
Yeah. So let's talk about Ittihad first. Should we spoiler the result? Yes, I think we should.
I think it's already spoiled because it happened already.
Yeah, so it seems based on the result that Ittihad had an easy match, but I think we can say that they didn't. And if I understand correctly, but correct me if I'm wrong, Al-Wehda missed the penalty very late in the match, and it could have been a quite more dramatic one. But the Ittihad went up early. In the first minute, Benzema showed that he's still here and training and everything. and who has done Hamdallah scored again in the first half, and it seemed that it will be an easy match for Ittihad, but in the end it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean the penalty which was missed by Al-Wehda happened in the injury time, but the first goal of Al-Wehda happened even after that, still in the injury time, obviously. So that means that even if they scored a penalty, we couldn't say that, okay, it would have been obviously 2-2 as a final result, because then Al-Ittihad would have focused better on the defense. But yeah, these are all just theories. But that's one thing is true, that in the last 10-15 minutes, Al-Wehda could have turned around the football match, because Al-Wehda was a bit sleepy in that time, and it almost costed the final for them. But at the end of the day, Al-Ittihad showed improved quality compared to the previous periods, I believe, taking into account especially that Al-Wehda has to be taken seriously based on their last performances. I think they are improving in play. For example, take into account their last result in the RSL. They secured a point against Al Ahly as well. So this is not an easy match for any teams. Maybe only for Hilal.
Yeah, and maybe Ittihad scored their goals in the best moments. So the first minute, as you mentioned, Wehda was a little bit sleepy, and also Hamdallah exactly before the break. So the best moments to score goals and decide the match. So okay, if we check the stats, it's quite like a draw. But to be honest, I think Ittihad decided the whole match in the first half.
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
And also had the possibility to substitute their core players like Luis Felipe or Jota, and to rest them for the
and this
upcoming
almost
matches.
cost them the match in the end.
Almost, but after they missed the penalty in the injury time, I didn't think that they had another chance to score at least 2 goals to have a draw. So I don't think that was a really big program for Ittihad.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that no Al-Ghamdis played in the starting lineup of Ittihad, but apart from that, it was the strongest lineup of Ittihad probably. But nobody should worry because Hamed Al-Ghamdi was substituted in during the match. Well, I think congratulations to Al-Ittihad. They in the end, it was a little bit more difficult than originally it seemed after the first half, and well, we can say that Al-Wehda got a consolation goal deservedly, but Al-Ittihad progressed to the final, and let's see who is going to be their opponent. Let's talk about the much anticipated Al-Hilal Al-Nassr match.
Yeah.
Well, how to start it?
It didn't go as expected for me, or let's say otherwise it went just as expected that it would happen.
Probably not a surprising end result, but it's interesting that Mitrovic was not playing and he missed the match. But apart from that, I think it was the strongest lineup of Al-Hilal. Maybe at one or two
do
positions.
We know the reason why he missed the game, or no news about him?
I think he's injured.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I need to double check this. But honestly, as we could see the result, I have the feeling that even one or two star players are missing. Al-Hilal is going to beat everyone based on their current form, which happened again.
What was the last time they lost a football match? Just remember, it was in August. It was in August exactly against Al-Nassr in the Arab Cup Champions League Cup. So since August, no one defeated Al-Hilal. And this did not change. And this did not change yesterday.
Yeah, just to confirm the other one, I checked it. Sorry, I should have known it better. I remembered it was injury because a few matches ago Mitrovic had a suspension, and as much as I like him, in his case you always have to think about a potential suspension. But he was injured against Al-Shabaab and is out for 6 weeks. So it's a chance for everyone that now that Neymar and Mitrovic is also injured, two of the potentially most potent strike force players are out, probably for the rest of the season. But as you can see, there is still the best player of Asia in the team, and a lot of others who can still deliver.
Nevertheless, speaking about the football match, which was, as you said, without Mitrovic, was played probably with the best squads. Although I have to say that there was one change in general compared to the general lineup of Al-Nassr as well, that Luis Castro for some reason decided to play with 5 defenders, because they play Teles, Laporte, Al-Fatil, Al-Lajami and Al-Ghanam as well, and Al-Ghanam was put on the right side probably, and that was the reason why Al-Gharib was missing from the starting lineup, and which I don't like to criticize Luis Castro that much, but it's not the best decision playing with 5 defenders against Al-Hilal. It's just fully submitting to them and just fully giving up possession and the possibility to control the match. And despite this fact, Al-Nassr went very well in the first half, and we can say that they controlled the match. They had more dangerous chances. Probably everyone was surprised because of the last fixtures and the results. So this was, I believe, a crucial mistake to play this with 5 defenders. I believe Al-Lajami should have been played on the right wing, and Al-Gharib should have been a very great reinforcement in the midfield and the attacking section. But this did not happen. So we can talk about Luis Castro and what will be his fate in the summer if Al-Nassr, for example, in a hypothetically now, only hypothetical, but will not win anything by the end of this season.
What do you think? Just to throw back the question at you.
Yeah, correct.
So what do you think? What will happen with Mr. Castro if he fails to win anything? Do you think that he will be fired? Because if we see the other side of the coin, if in a hypothetical world Al-Nassr is not winning anything, everything will be, which is, let's say, not a shame to lose to at this stage.
Yeah, quickly, yes, I believe he will be fired in that case. They have won the Arab Club Champions League. It was already in August, but since then there's not a great performance. So it's not a problem to lose against Hilal, but they're already in 12 points behind, and that's not only because of matches against Hilal. And on the other hand, they now lost the Super Cup. They lost in the Champions League in a match that they should have won against Al-Ain. I believe quite easily, but not easily, but they should have won and not lose like this. And now the only chance to win something is the King's Cup.
And what do you think? Who will have a word in that decision? I mean, whether Cristiano have any decision-making position in that question. Okay, I know that he won't be the one who fires anyone from the club, but just like LeBron James in the NBA, he can decide who he plays with, have a word in the decision about the coaches, and as we can see, he's frustrated, rightly,
Yes.
with the yeah. So that would be my question.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. His situation is maybe not like that, but maybe close to what LeBron James is having, for example, now in Lakers. So yes, Ronaldo is not only the most successful player in the team, but he has the highest brand and marketing value, the main attraction, and the main reason for the improvement in the attendances during the football match. So therefore, he is a financial asset as well, and as such, obviously, they want to make him happy, so they will ask for his opinion. He obviously, I believe, want to secure the position of Luis Castro. I believe he has a correct relationship with him. Also, they are from the same nation, but as I think Luis Castro, if no cup will be delivered by Al-Nassr, will be fired, then obviously Ronaldo will also be asked. But in that case, I would expect some star manager and the bench of Al-Nassr.
Let me just throw another provoking question at you. Do you think if Al-Nassr is not winning anything, that Ronaldo is leaving?
No, I don't think so.
That's not an option.
No, I don't think so. He's quite bound to this league based on every interviews, every communication.
I mean, maybe he joins with Benzema in Al-Ittihad, and then Benzema is more happy to train or
you meant that he would leave Al-Nassr? I don't think that he would move to Jeddah, to be honest. I believe he has a serious contract with Al-Nassr. He seems, I mean, he treats this as a project. He wants to at least win something with Al-Nassr, because it's naturally often happening with him not to win anything and then leave. So I believe based on his attitudes, he will certainly stay at this club, and it's also needed by the PIF and everyone else to keep him here, because that's also not good if all the best good players are employed by one or two clubs in the league.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the question. I have the same opinion anyway. Just to clarify it, I would be surprised too. And maybe the solution would be, we talked about, it was not a good sentence to start with, but we talked about the weakness of the defense, and maybe the answer to the problems would not be the dismissal of Castro, but to strengthen the weaker positions, because I don't want to overpraise Hilal, but they had a core even before the Saudi exodus started, and I don't want to, on the other hand, not give full credit to the work the team is doing and the coaching staff at Hilal, but they always had the upper hand based on the fact that the majority of the Saudi national team key players are there. And we always have to put it in perspective that Nassr is competing with this team, and in order to be able to really compete with them, you have to grow to the level and strengthen the core of the team, which probably one summer transfer window was not enough for. But yes, we also see in football that nobody cares about these facts, and managers get fired. So we will see. But let's talk a little bit about the match as well, I think, because we talked a lot about Nassr's and Castro's future, but barely spoke about the match. And there were some interesting moments I think we can talk about. Do you think the result was fair to start?
Yes, it was, unfortunately.
Well, then topic closed, I think.
No,
Yeah,
I mean,
but
if the
maybe a
Nassr
little bit in more detail, because the first half seemed like a fair draw for me, but the match was decided mainly in the second one. Am I right in that, or?
No, that's right.
Or-
In the first half, I believe Nassr could have scored one goal. I believe they had the upper hand in that part. They only scored an offside goal. Maybe we should talk about first that offside goal then. And the second, it was obvious that Al-Hilal has dominance over the game, and they just that affected the result significantly.
We can say that if Mitrovic played, probably a lot more chances went in.
Yeah. They did not have that many chances. They started to have chances from the second half.
I meant
that. There was and there was a header which probably Mitrovic would have scored if he would have been there. But starting from in the exact timeline, the first debate, because this was a very well heated match with a lot of debate, so we just have to tear up these these debates and dig into them. So the first one was an offside situation where the ball was crossed in and Ronaldo made a move to the ball, but could not touch it and anything else. But Otavio arrived on the longer flank and just put the ball into the net, and everyone was happy in Al-Nassr. And then based on a decision, they classified this as an offside situation and denied the goal from Al-Nassr. And this heated up the whole stadium. The players were debating, they were shouting at the referee, and still after the match, many of them claim that this was a rightful goal, which have been denied. So I obviously have an opinion, but I'm interested in yours.
And maybe
I hate the offside rule anyway.
Not the offside itself was the main point here, but the yellow card for Ronaldo after that, because he got another one later on the game, and maybe he wouldn't have been sent off the pitch if he is a little bit calmer this time as well. But I think this comes from maybe somehow from this kind of frustration I just feel like on him in the last weeks because of the missing results.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. But wasn't it? I mean, let's talk about that a bit later. But I believe
we should answer the question first.
Yes, I believe it was a straight red on the second half. But let's talk about the offside. So,
I think as much as I hate this offside rule, because it leaves there is a reason why the offside rule is implemented, and I think what is the most ridiculous one, if there is a set piece situation like a free kick and they say it's offside, simply the players should position themselves, but that's just my opinion. And in this case, I understand the frustration of Al-Nassr, because the goal scorer was never in an offside position and Ronaldo didn't touch the ball. But looking at the law of the football matches, it's an offside, because you cannot deny that he was stretching for the ball. He fell on the ground in the end. So yes, he tried to get into the to intervene in the match, and you can say that if this is the law, then it's an offside. So I think it was a fair decision, but I understand the frustration. To be frank with that.
Yeah, it's my opinion as well. So it was a fair offside. He tried to reach the ball. Okay, it does not happen, but everyone from Hilal's side expected that he will reach the ball, and that's why they moved the way they moved. So I think it's a fair
Well,
offside.
it was an
decision.
offside, but it wasn't a fair decision. But just to debate the fair word in your statement. But talking about the red card is, I think, another.
Yeah, just to share my opinion as well. So that would close this question, because then it's 3-0 that it was an offside. The rules are pretty clear. So if a player on the pitch who is an offside makes himself active, then it becomes an offside situation. And Ronaldo obviously moved towards the ball, and with that move, he obviously drew the goalkeeper's attention, and by that he made himself an active player on the field. So unfortunate. I understand also the frustration. It's not a clear situation. It's never.
I think it was a clear situation. Sorry, in a lot of cases, you can say it's not a clear situation, but in this event, he lunged for the ball.
I want to say that it's always a subjective question, because there are no lines or times or scores, that you have to, because there's always a question that, okay, if Ronaldo would have done the same, but he would have been, for example, 2 meters back, then could we say that every goalkeeper who take that seriously is very stupid in that case, who lets himself being deviated by a player who is locating, I don't know, 10 meters away. But even in the case, so it's always a bit subjective, but we all agree that in this case it was an offside situation, and the referee made the right call.
Yeah, it's said that we have to talk about the red card, but we can talk about the second half, and that Hilal, I think, had a lot of chances. So I would say that maybe you don't fully agree with this, but based on the number and quality of chances, Hilal probably could have scored more.
So you're interested in the quality of chances?
No, I'm not even interested, but based on the posts hit by the ball, I think it's fair to say that they were close to score goals.
It was a nice shot by Malcolm, yes.
Yeah, so I'm not at all interested in the quality of goals. We already know that the certain genius Erik ten Hag already overshadows this stupid theory. So no, thanks.
Maybe we should move to the red card.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about the frustration we talked about earlier, and I have a point here that I understand why Ronaldo is frustrated, but shouldn't be a player like him be able to resist the temptation to be sent off? Because for me, it's clear. The situation was that Al-Bulahi, maybe he won't be the favorite of football fans because of his, let's say, behavior, but it probably all he wanted to achieve is to make Ronaldo mad at him, because Ronaldo was already yellow carded, and to get him sent off, and this is what happened. And Ronaldo, with his world-class background, should have been, I think, a little bit more careful here.
He had always, anger issues, so that was always within his personality. Maybe in the last years he became a bit more calmer, but obviously, as Mark mentioned, the last week's results and dropping out of the Champions League, since then he's obviously much more frustrated. We can see that. And now it crystallized in this red card. So it was nothing to discuss. So obviously it was a clear red. He didn't elbowed Al-Bulahi. That's an obvious and clear distinction. He just raised his elbow and then pushed him with his body first, and then made a very light move to Al-Bulahi. Al-Bulahi then despite the fact that he's a huge and strong defender, circulated around the pitch for a minute. So it was a very, very,
maybe he learned this from Neymar on those few matches when he played for Hilal.
It's a good learning opportunity.
So, for my opinion, it was a clear red, and that's nothing to discuss about that in that sense. Maybe one thing that Al-Nassr fans, such as myself, could have argued is that Abdullahi should have sent off, because I believe he should have been awarded with at least 3 yellow cards during the football match. But I honestly, this is not something that would have changed the pace of the game or something like that. So that would be a weak argument.
Are we fair to say that Abdullahi did not become your favorite Saudi national player?
No, he has never been. I mean, he has that attitude. Obviously, he does that because he has reasons, to go into the enemy's head, the opponent's head, and he does that perfectly. I never ever liked that behavior, to be honest, but one thing is for sure, that he is a great defender, and he does this very efficiently, because Ronaldo is not the first and not the last player who got a bit more frustrated than he should have been.
Yeah, he a little bit reminds me of Romero, but
yes,
probably that's not a good reminder for anyone. Sorry. In the end, at least Al-Nassr got a nice consolation goal, so at least something to cheer about. But it's a little bit too little, too late. We can say that.
It was a bit of a luck, but at least some, because Al-Nassr was a bit unlucky during the match, and that goal was a bit of a luck. But Mane did that very nicely, so he deserved that.
Yeah. So the another lucky one is Al-Ittihad, who has the chance to play, I don't know, 5th or 6th time with Al-Hilal in a very short time frame. So what I would ask from you before we close this episode, I think we can, is what are your predictions for the Super Cup final? So Al-Hilal beats Al-Ittihad again, or does Al-Ittihad have something to come up with?
I think it will be 2-1 to Al-Hilal.
My guess is the same, because every time the opposite happens. So now I'm cheering for Ittihad this time, because I want them to win something, at least the Super Cup this year, because they deserve this, based on mainly the great injuries they have, and the problems with Benzema and so on. At least this one they should win, but because of this reason that quite the opposite happens every time, I'm guessing the same as Andris, that Hilal will beat Ittihad 2-1.
I think it will be a draw, and in the end there will be a penalty shutout where Al-Hilal will be victorious based on Al-Ittihad's abysmal penalty record.
And that's a fun fact for the end, right, Yula?
Yes. Just check back the statistics of Al-Ittihad's penalty taking, and you will see what I mean here. The guys really should practice from the penalty spot, because you have to do better than that. And I think it's quite likely anyway that this match will go down to the wire, because if you saw the last meeting of the two teams in the Champions League, in the second match of the round, basically I think Al-Ittihad had the upper hand almost during the entire match. They collapsed a little bit by the end of the match, and the end result really suggests as if Al-Hilal was convincingly victorious, but that was not the case. Al-Ittihad dominated most of the match, and it was wonderful goalkeeping and nice defense from Al-Hilal, which prevented Al-Ittihad to get anything from the match. But seeing that also Mitrovic is going to miss the match, I don't know. I wouldn't be so surprised if Al-Ittihad is going to surprise us. One thing is interesting from Hilal for me is that Al-Shehri was not starting against Al-Nassr, and maybe the reason for that was to rest him for the final, because he was the one to deputize Mitrovic during the season when Mitrovic was not available. But still, yeah, Al-Shaqiri is a great player, a nice Saudi international. But well, I'm honestly curious how this match will turn out. Maybe I will be humbled and it will be a clear Hilal victory, but I'm not so sure. Not so sure about it.
Especially in the absence of Mitrovic, who, as you mentioned, injured. And as I checked, he will be out for 6 weeks.
Yeah. I mentioned that, yes. So,
and probably that, yeah. Maybe just one fun fact again for the end.
Yeah,
in
let's
this
go.
respect, Ronaldo is 6 goals away, only 6 goals away in the league from being the all-time, being the player who scored the most goals in a single season. Currently, I believe Hamdallah is the record holder with 35 goals. And Ronaldo has now 29 goals, and he still have a lot of matches. But with this red card and the possible suspension for example, 2 matches, maybe that's what I have read about, he significantly reduced his chances to break this record. So from this perspective, it was not a wise decision to strong hand Abdullahi that much.
Just a question. Is this red card still valid for the league matches?
Yes, I
as
believe,
well?
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Then I got that.
It seems that Mitrovic won't challenge him either because he's going to be out. So then the player who has the chance to challenge this record is Hamdallah himself, maybe. But he's third on the goal scorer list. But yeah, nice fun fact. Thanks for that.
No problem. I always try to deliver.
Yeah, I think we covered the topic of the Super Cup, and I think we should close this episode for now. So thank you guys, and thanks to our listeners too. Be sure to check us out as we are having a very busy period, and we're going to hopefully deliver quality content to you, and we aim to do that even beyond this season. But thanks for coming now, and see you soon. Cheers.